So this is our, did anybody go to any of the USA on snow sessions today?
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be a lot of similar information, so hopefully it'll be good to sort of hone in some of the things that you worked on out on the hill today. This is our learning connection model. In PSIA, we believe that there's 3 areas of instructor development: teaching skills, people skills, and technical skills. In this lecture specifically, we'll talk about the teaching skills. We had a lecture on the people skills last night. Anybody go to it? How was it?
It was good.
Good, awesome. It was in a prison, right?
Yeah.
It was in a prison. And tomorrow night we're going to do a presentation on teaching skills. The topic of this conversation is going to be mostly on our technical approach to alpine skiing. In the center of this model, we have our 5 fundamentals, which is largely what we will address this afternoon. Up top, we have the skills concept. And I think these 2 corners, desired outcome and tactics, are things that no matter your country that you come from, we deal with tactics, different equipment, different terrain, and with the different outcomes, different student goals, we deal with those. Those are pretty much the same, right? Human beings are human beings. But we're going to deal with the 5 fundamentals and the skills concept. A little historical perspective on how we came up with our 5 fundamentals. In Interski in St. Anton in 2011, we presented that there's many different types of good skiing. There was racing, there's park, there's free ride, freestyle. All different types of skiing that we identified as good. We showed up at Interski with big fat skis when most of the other people had on slalom skis, and we talked about the fact that there's so many different types of good skiing, and how we accommodate those different types of skiing is by blending skills. So if you're on a big fat ski, maybe you're doing a little bit more twisting, a little bit more schmearing compared to the slalom skis, which was largely a tip and a carve. So we went to that Interski and we basically brought in it's all good approach and all good attitude. Different types of skiing. We were happy to say it's all good. Come ski with us, we'll take care of you no matter what. Through that process of being at Interski, working with our membership, and interacting with people like yourselves at Interski, we realized that our diversity was our strength, but it was also our weakness. We identified all these other types of great skiing, but what we hadn't really done was clearly defined what good technical skiing meant for us in the United States. What are the concrete things about great skiing that we can really, at the end of the day, hang our hat on and say, this is important for us. So that's going to bring us to our 5 fundamentals. And I'm going to go over each of the 5 of them, and then they'll all be on a list at the end. They're also in that handout. So feel free to take pictures or not, but we good so far? So our first fundamental is controlling the relationship of the center of mass to the base of support. So base of support simply meaning if I'm on 2 skis where my weight is over those 2 skis. If I'm on 1 ski and it's flat, my base of support is smaller. If I'm on 1 ski and it's on an edge, it's still smaller. So that's my base of support. It's going to change. And we want to make sure that removing our center of mass, that relationship is always effective. Hi. How's it going? Are there any extra handouts back there?
Yes. There's a bunch on the table.
Great. So ways we can move our center of mass in relation to our base of support is we can move our center of mass forwards and backwards relative to that, or we can move our center of mass or our base of support forwards and backwards relative to our base of support. Our second fundamental is the ability to control pressure from ski to ski and direct pressure against the outside ski. Anybody talk about that today out skiing? Right. Third fundamental has to do with the edges in the snow and the ability to change the edges, whether they're going more on edge or less on edge, through inclination and angulation. Inclination meaning body is tipped in, angulation meaning creating some angles with my body. The last one is the ability to control the ski's rotation with leg rotation separate from the upper body. I skied with a group today and we talked about this, and we were divided pretty much 50-50 in the group that I skied with. Those of us that believed that this up was the upper body, including the pelvis, and the other half of the group thinking that pretty much from here up was the upper body, and this was the upper body that included the pelvis. And without judging one was right or wrong, it was super interesting to see the variance in how people skied through that too, thinking about, was this upper lower body separation or was this upper lower body separation? It was interesting to see the two differences. And lastly, the ability to regulate the magnitude of pressure created through ski-snow interaction. Anybody get out and make some powder turns today?
Yeah.
Ski some little bumps, right? Sometimes we were trying to be softer on the snow. Sometimes we were trying to get on the snow and create some pressure and bend it a lot. So in a nutshell, these are the 5 fundamentals of what we consider our great skiing. In a second, we're going to talk about the skills concept that maybe allows us to look at all different skiing. We look at the 5 fundamentals as something that's evident from the very most beginner all the way to an expert, and from skiing carved snow all the way to being able to ski the powder and the bumps. It's our base, it's something concrete that we can look at and evaluate skiing from, but it also gives us a base from which we can start to explore different options. I.e., if I'm making a wedge turn, I'm going to want to have my weight on my outside ski. Maybe not as aggressively if I'm skiing that GS course the other day, coming over that roll onto that left footer, where you had to have a lot of commitment to that outside ski. Good with those so far? Anything to add so far? Okay. So our skills concept. We've evolved this a little bit since years past. Our skills concept to us has largely to do with what the skis are doing in the snow. What's the interaction like? There's 3 different things that we can get our skis to do on the snow. We can twist them to change direction, faster or slower depending on if you want to steer them or pivot them. We can tip them on edge or off of edge, and we can bend them either less or more. Hence we have the 3 different skills of rotational control, edge control, and pressure control. Associated with all our different skills are body movements. Of course, if I need to twist my skis, I need to be able to turn my leg in order to accomplish that. If I'm going to put my ski on edge, I need to be able to move my body lateral to some degree in order to put that ski onto or off of edge. Balance. I think it's not just in the US. I think this is a thing that ski instructors do all over the world, where we go out and we ski and then we sit in the locker room or sit in the bar and have a beer and start talking about skiing, and then it leads to maybe a debate about skiing and maybe even ultimately to a heated debate about skiing. And this is one of those things that for me has always been one of those fun debates. Does balance, do you have to be in a balanced stance, a good athletic stance, in order to be able to affect the other movements or the other skills? Or is it the ability to move well through those movements and skills that puts you into balance? Does everybody have an opinion about that? Right? That's always been a bar argument for us. It's been, where does it go? Who's right? Is it the athletic stance that's important, or does the athletic stance come from good movements? This is a quote right out of our new Alpine manual, which you can get free access to for the next month. It says, a common debate in skiing is whether a state of balance creates the ability to move effectively, or if moving effectively results in a state of balance. We have to come up with a new bar argument, because the simple answer is yes. It can play either role in that. And can you think of scenarios where one might kind of be more relevant or more prominent than the other? So, an issue that we face in the United States is sometimes people confusing what might be a coaching cue with what are our 5 fundamentals. And that was largely the reason that we came to these very concrete fundamentals. Sometimes when we're out teaching skiing, and whether we're teaching skiing or teaching clinic, maybe we'll use a coaching clue that you need to go across the hill and your inside hip needs to be higher. Maybe the next day, that instructor or person goes in another clinic with another coach, and that coach says, well, you need to be able to drop your outside half of your body more over your outside ski. What can happen is those 2 coaching cues or teaching tools can, to a lesser experienced instructor, become confusing. I'm going to guess that in this room, we're all pretty clear in our minds that that means that we need to be balanced over the outside ski. So that's one of the reasons we came up with these fundamentals, so that some of those coaching cues don't become what people take home and think is the religion or think is the dogma. This slide gives kind of an example of how one person says something, and as it gets passed down along the line, it starts to get a little bit muddled or misinterpreted, and at the end, something that was never meant to be what was said becomes what becomes the truth for that person.
Our country the U.S. is fairly large geographically, and our membership is 33,000. So, as Robin says, a clinic can happen and somebody can say something about, hey, try this, and that then goes from a clinic with Robin Barnes to a clinic with somebody from a division, and they say something similar, but it kind of is a little bit different. And then the next generation is clinicking between instructors and instructors at their own ski school. And suddenly, lifting the inside hip becomes technique for that area. And it loses sight of what Robin has said so well, which is, let's just keep our balance and our pressure towards the outside ski. And that is a challenge that very quickly in the U.S. can happen. It can go from a clinic with Robin to a clinic to a divisional person in the division, high up in the division, a trainer in the division, to a ski school, and then a group of instructors working together. And very quickly, in the space of 4 different interactions, we go from a very good fundamental of being balanced against your outside ski to you got to lift your inside hip. And that is a place where we found, because it's such a big country with lots of ski teachers, is a challenge for us. We have to meet that. So, as Rob was saying, that's why we've decided to say, nope, there's 5, and we're always going to go back to those 5. We're always going to hang on to them and never lose sight, and always come back, so that we don't end up with a technique that says, lift your inside hip. It's a great coaching cue, but it is not fundamental for us. It may work for you, but it may not work for you.
Thanks, Michael. I had somebody in my group today ask me if, when we're out teaching and clinicking other instructors, if this is the terminology that when we use when we're teaching. Balance against the outside ski, move your center over your base of support, create or affect the edge angles on your skis through inclination and angulation. And it isn't. It's more of a self-dialogue in most teaching situations. If we can recognize that with this student in this task and this terrain right now, here's what I want to accomplish, I know in the end that I need to affect one of those 5 fundamentals. However, because of what Michael was saying, when we're out teaching, and maybe we're teaching to keep your zipper, your jacket zipper, down the fall line. Maybe we're teaching an exercise like pivot slips. Maybe we're teaching hold the poles out in front and always keep them faced on that gentleman from Levy there who's going to tell us why we should do the next Interski in Finland. Hold it right there. Okay? But as we go through the process of developing those movements and developing those skills and creating better skiers, we always make sure that we bring it back so that they understand what was the fundamental. If we explain what the fundamental was, and here's some other examples. I don't know if we need to go over them one by one, but if in making sure that when we wrap up and we summarize those lessons or those workshops with instructors, then we'll always be speaking the same language. we can't get confused with, is it the inside hip that needs to lift or the outside shoulder that needs to drop? We'll know that it's consistent terminology across our country, so that the guy in New Hampshire that takes a lesson is hearing the same terminology from the guy in Colorado. And again, that will help to understand the difference between what are those coaching cues, what are the exercises and teaching tools we use to affect that change. It helps us as instructors know what the performance outcome is when we start to develop a lesson plan, when we start to develop lesson content. Today we were out skiing in my clinic again, and we were doing a very different tasks. And again, it allowed us to look at a person making a carved turn on the groomed run versus more of a soft managed pressure in the powder, and be able to say, well, in both of those instances, they're over their outside ski. Maybe they were leaning uphill, so we could analyze movements around something concrete in those 5 fundamentals. It allows me to self-coach and self-learn. If I know that after that clinic, it's not the coaching cue that mattered, but rather that fundamental that I need to be able to manage overall pressure, then I can go home and I can self-coach. I can come up with different ways to approach that versus left with one exercise or one religious belief that all I need to do is keep my zipper down the hill. If I keep my zipper down the hill, I haven't really learned that I need to be able to turn my legs more than my pelvis, more than my shoulders, more than my upper body. We also have interwoven all these 5 fundamentals into our exam standards. So we have 3 levels of ski instruction certification, at a level 1, at a level 2, and a level 3. Each of those fundamentals has a very basic exercise to evaluate those fundamentals, starting from simple up to complex. Do you have anything to add to that right now? Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Those are our fundamentals. Those are how we look at skiing, again, in different applications, given different terrain, given different equipment that people are on. It's how we look at skiing from the very basic level, from beginner skiing up through intermediate, advanced, expert, World Cup racing, North Face, free ride competitions, things like that. Those are the 5 concrete things that we look at. Questions? Comments? Fine, be that way. If you go into this app store, if anybody's interested in downloading a copy of our online manual, which includes information about our fundamentals, about our skills concepts. These are Dave in here? These are all of our manuals, Michael, correct? Not just the Alpine manual?
Yeah, it's the Alpine.
So the free ride, the snowboard, the Alpine.
It's just the 3. It's Alpine, snowboard, and the telemark technical manuals that came out last season. They're available until September 30th.
Could you put up the slide with the 5 fundamentals, please?
It's also, those 5 fundamentals are also here in print in this handout, and if you didn't get one, please don't leave before I give you an opportunity to grab one.
The leather dress is on the back.
Pardon me?
The leather dress is on the back. Yeah. As a pamphlet. Yes, it is.
Okay. No questions? That's it? Thanks, guys. Guys, if questions arise after you're away and thinking about this and you want to know more about it, please ask myself, or ask Michael, ask any of our teammates as you see them around out on the hill for the next couple of days. I would recommend not asking them in the Interski bar, but that's up to you. Cool.
Maybe I have a question. Do you cooperate with the PSIA with racing department of US? This is obviously 2 organizations. You combine your, I don't know, cooperation or some knowledge.
So I'm going to rephrase your question and tell me if I got it right. So PSIA, our ski instructor organization,
Exactly.
do we have a relationship or work with our ski racing organization?
Exactly, ski racing organization.
So I'm going to let Michael Rogan answer that because he's a little bit more intimately involved with that. So yes is the answer to that. And thanks to Michael and some other teammates, it's been growing, but
I was going to put the slide that said the simple answer is yes.
I got you covered. I got your back.
Yes, we do. We have a certification level through PSIA, and USSA is the Coaches Association, and we are working to get those certification levels together. Lots of children's programs, instructors that become race club kids, they start out as ski instructor certified, and then they join the Coaches Association and they move up. At the high end, there is a great relationship with the U.S. ski team and the coaching staff with the PSIA demonstration team and our staff. We spent the last 2 years certifying 23 U.S. ski team members and coaches, including Stephen Nyman, Andrew Wybrecht, Stacy Cook, Loren Ross, Leanne Smith, Jacqueline Wiles, Mark O'Sullivan. So those people have gone through PSIA certifications and hold our level 3 certification. And at the very high end, the coaching staff and the demonstration team or the Alpine team has a great relationship. It's in the middle. It's in the middle that we're struggling, because in the middle in the U.S. what is taking place is you have lots of FIS level racers, or maybe they did a NORAM race or a Europa Cup race, but then they weren't good enough to make it to the top, but they also need a job. They also need a job. So they become race coaches because they have experience racing, but they don't have experience teaching and coaching. And that is a challenge that we know we have, and we're addressing it quickly. But yes, there is a very good, strong, improving relationship between the U.S. ski team and PSIA and the Coaches Federation.
There, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I gave the same questions today in our workshop on the snow, and the answer was, that's why I'm asking again to find this.
Yeah, it's getting stronger and stronger. The athletes and the coaches are realizing the importance of understanding ski instruction and ski teaching and learning styles and how they are smart, multiple intelligences, and mental development, physical development, and your emotional development. And if as they understand that through ski instruction courses, they're better at being their own coaches, and they're better at being giving feedback to the coaches so that they get what they need as a staff. Yeah. Anything else? Pepo, ¿tienes algo?
I asked during the clinic, and I ask again, why do you mention inclination as a means to control edge angle, when inclination
is a way to manage
strictly
balance?
A balance device, and the edging or non-edging that you obtain from it is strictly a consequence but not an objective?
I think we can address it in the same way. I think fundamentally we would agree that it is your goal is to zero out forces, but sooner or later somebody has to move first. If I don't move somewhere, then I don't get a turn started, I don't engage side cut, and I don't get something to stand against. So somebody has to move first, whether that's through everything going or a body part going, but somebody has to decide to go first and then develop and work to balance out the forces. And we use inclination and angulation as terms to say that because our membership is used to both of those terms.